Hi there, my name is Steve Gearhart, and as always, this is the Unagi Observer. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching the video this week. This week is a unique video. It's a kind of a well-known historical anime, and I'll explain why I use the term historical later, but it's called AD Police Files. Now, you know, we've always gotten the question or the idea from people who don't watch anime that anime is just for kids. Show them AD Police Files. They'll change their mind real quick. AD Police Files. As you can tell by the graphic, it is very much a cyberpunk anime. It is delved deep dive into the cyberpunk genre. So if you're into cyberpunk, this is probably on your radar if you haven't watched it already. So there are definitely the cyberpunk tropes of technology is great until it isn't and somebody uses it for bad reasons, or, you know, how does technologically affect the human body and more importantly, the human soul and mind. So that, you know, definitely dives into those concepts, and this is definitely cyberpunk, no two ways about it. For those of you who are familiar with the idea of AD Police Files, it is the precursor, the prequel to the Bubblegum Crisis series, anime series, the original one, not the reboot. And it does focus on one of the characters called Leon. This is his stories from 5 years prior to the Bubblegum Crisis anime. So the AD Police Files is actually part of a franchise of AD Police Files. And so you can actually find different series of mangas relating to the original Bubblegum Crisis universe, as was this one. But this one is the one that kind of stands out. And boy, does it stand out for a variety of reasons. Now, before we get into it, one of the things that I want to mention about this is that this is definitely late 80s, early 90s style animation. So, you know, if you're looking for CGI and things like that of today, you're not going to get it. But it is, as of at the time, pretty much a well-regarded in terms of animation. So this is an example of late 80s, early 90s animation that was good. It's just that what you see is not so good. And I'll get into that in a moment. But one of the big things to take away from this is that this is I'm going to look at my notes here. This is written mostly by Sho Aikawa. Please forgive my Japanese pronunciation. But if you're familiar with that name, it's probably for a reason. So he's done recently, let's see here, Senkai Yamato no Karai Ratsu. So he did that. He's in Ungo episodes. He did the Full Metal Alchemist movie, Conqueror Shambhala. He did the 90s Ultraman series. He's done Love Hina. He's written for 30 episodes of the first Full Metal Alchemist series. Shaman King, he's involved with that. He's one of those guys that comes out of the 80s and 90s with a huge line of work. So this guy has been around for a while. AD Police Files was one of the things that he worked on. So that's a big takeaway from this. You get to see the evolution of his career. This is his one kind of earlier-ish on in his career. And you're going to go, wow, he did a lot of really good stuff after this. And it's going to make you wonder what the hell went wrong when he wrote AD Police Files for animation. Because there's a lot wrong with this anime. So let me get into the plot real quick. The plot is off of the manga. So the manga has basically 3 police files, 3 stories. And they do what, you know, anime production companies are wont to do when they have limited budgets, but they have a good title. They smash 3 episodes in and call it a OVA movie. And this one is, like I said, three episodes. They call them case files. And all told, it's about 78 minutes long. So, you know, if you have 78 minutes to kill and this is what you want to watch, there you go. Again, it goes into frustratingly, and again, I'll explain why that's frustrating, the core concepts of cyberpunk, and goes into other cyberpunk themes and ideas and it's so frustrating, so frustrating. So there is no overarching plot, right? The three are loosely connected only because they are just files from the AD police, what they've done, and particularly what Leon has done, how he joined, and some of the first cases that he worked on. The first one is Phantom Lady. Basically, they're these androids called boomers. You know, who knew that term would come up again? Anyway, so these androids start to slowly lose their cybernetic minds, and they go on rampages. And this is kind of how the AD police came about to deal with this kind of threat. So it's, you know, the first one is how one of these androids, Leon, before he becomes part of the AD police, how he becomes part of the AD police is that he's able to stop one of these as normal police. For those of you who aren't familiar with the anime, there's a section of Tokyo Police which is called the normal police, which are normal unaugmented people, or people who don't have the skills to take on, you know, the cyber stuff that's going on in the world. And the AD police are the organization that can take on those kinds of things. So Leon, as his intro to the AD police, is able to take down one of the boomers on his own hook. And as a result, he becomes part of the AD police team. This first case is him being a rookie. He, like I say, he takes down this boomer, becomes part of the AD police, and she comes back because there are, you know, crooked, you know, people out there who like take the spare parts and they remake them into new androids, whatever, and illegally sell them. So this particular boomer, with that set of memories of being killed, is remade again and goes back out onto the street to kill again. And yeah, we'll get into the sexualization later. And so that's the first file. Second file is this very interesting idea that underneath Tokyo is a rail line called the Paradise Loop, which used to be an original subway line of Tokyo back in the 2000s, and now it's just this one continuous loop that somehow still has power and people can run the trains on there, and that's where a lot of illegal drugs and prostitution happens. A very young prostitute, 14 years of age, yes, that is mentioned, is murdered by another woman. And so that starts off the police file, and you come to realize that the murderess is actually a very high-level CEO. She owns her own company, and because she got screwed over in a previous company by a guy, she decided, because of her period, because she's a woman, she decided to have all that taken out and cybernetic implants put back in so that she doesn't have that weakness. And remember, this was done in 1990, so things were a little bit different. And not justifying, I'm just saying they're different. And so then, as a result, she wants her real parts back now that she's CEO of her own company, and that's causing problems, and it's causing mental issues. So there you go. And it's an interesting police file because it's a member of the normal police interacting with the AD police to bring down this one particular, to find this murderess and bring her down. Third file is a total ripoff of RoboCop. I'm going to get into how badly AD police files rips stuff off. Total ripoff of RoboCop. And basically, there was a member of the AD police force who used to be a boxer, then became a policeman, then got into the AD police force, and then was killed in action. They were able to save his brain and his tongue. The episode is called "The Man Who Bites His Tongue," because he doesn't feel anything anymore, like literally, like in terms of what a human being feels. So periodically, just to make sure to touch base with his own humanity, he bites his own tongue to feel the pain, the human pain. It gets worse, folks. And you know, if we remember from the original RoboCop movie, Murphy, the guy who gets turned into RoboCop, there's a scene where he starts becoming self-aware. He comes in and out, and there's one little scene where one of the female researchers is kind of drunk at a New Year's Eve party, comes up and gives him a kiss, and then he turns off. Well, they go further in this one, and she literally, I'm sad to say, but you need to know, because it just comes out of nowhere. The female researcher is actually more than a female researcher. She's kind of the head of the project, so to speak, and in trying to keep his humanity engaged, she'll come into his little cubicle, undress, be in lingerie, and just like hump him. I'm sorry, that's it. It happens in this anime. It's ridiculous, but anyway, so things go from bad to worse, and he has to be taken down. But because he was a former member of the AD police force, one of the main characters, not Leon but Jenna, explain this in a moment, recognizes him as Billy. I love it when Japanese people pronounce Billy. It's just kind of just an odd cadence. Anyway, recognizes that this gargantuan machine that's taking down other machines is Billy, and she's trying to save him. And of course, we all know how that goes. So, and that's it. So you're probably gonna be like, okay, well, you went through those plots pretty quick, and that's because that's all there is to it. The unfortunate thing about AD Police Files is that, and this is the part where I get into the criticism. My first criticism is that it really is disappointing how you are teased with all these great cyberpunk ideas. One of the things that Jenna, one of the cops that is a mentor to Leon, is worried about through all 3 episodes is whether or not her cybernetic arm is going to affect her mental state. It's something that she's acutely aware of and is fears and is in fear about it because she sees it happening. Of course, then you have the usual concepts of, cyberpunk concepts of, okay, where does your humanity end, begin, and how does it affect your mind and your body and your soul when you become almost totally cybernetic? The interesting thing about AD Police is that they actually give you a percentage of where you are considered human, but then the law treats you as a cybernetic organism when you hit the 70% threshold of cybernetics in your body. So when you hit 70%, when your body hits 70% cybernetics in the world of AD Police, you are no longer considered human. So the law is being applied to you in a different way, a more violent, gruesome, evil way. In other words, it's a lot easier for people to kill you, basically, for justification for killing you. So there is that. There is the idea, like when you play in cyberpunk role-playing games, there's one of the games I used to play, it's called a crit stat, wherein, if you keep cyberneting up, you start, going into rages or delusions or things like that. Actually, Cyberpunk Edge Runners, that's a big concept that runs throughout that series. You get a little taste of that, but that's all you get. So it's very tantalizing insofar that you're given these concepts, these ideas, and then nothing is done with them. Story is practically non-existent. You get enough plot to justify the fact that the story that the animation exists. You're going to see my second big criticism is that you're going to see a lot of ripoffs. Like I said, the 3rd episode is literally RoboCop. It's shameless. It is truly shameless how much they ripped off that. You're gonna, like, within moments of going into the episode, you're gonna be like, oh, okay, it's Alex Murphy being turned into RoboCop. Okay, got it. All right, and it really does that, and you're just like, wow, I'm just watching an animated version of RoboCop, an adult 18 plus version of RoboCop, as if you needed a 18 plus version of RoboCop to begin with. The other things that gets ripped off is Blade Runner. Blade Runner gets ripped off in there. There's a couple scenes. Actually, it's kind of like an homage, honestly, in the first episode. And you get that, and it's basically the scene in where Roy Batty in Blade Runner comes to woo the guy who makes the eyes and comes into his lab and wreaks havoc. In this case, it's Jenna and Leon coming into this dude's lab, and it's just all Blade Runner vibes there. You will see, however, remember this was done in 1990. You will see concepts that are used in the Ghost in the Shell movie in 1995. So you're going to see some ideas, you're going to see some mechs, and you're going to even see a character that is going to reappear in Ghost in the Shell 1995. So that's the second big criticism is that it just rips off of so many things. The last criticism and the most important criticism is that because there's literally almost no story, because things are so shamelessly ripped, and you really have to wonder if this guy just did Shiro wrote this, or not Shiro, I'm sorry, Sho Aikawa wrote this just for a paycheck, because it's so almost no story. There's almost no plot. You just, like I said, you just have enough bare bones to hang the animation on. And the animation is sexualized violence. This was done in 1990. AD Police Files, to begin with, was sexualized. Remember, this is a time when anime, that was kind of not normal, because AD Police does kind of go over the top with this. But it existed. Today we have fan service, and we have a clear delineation between regular anime that anybody can watch, to eki, to hentai, right? We have those clear lines of how far do the adults go, and where the kids need to stop, right? This is from the 80s and 90s, so that those lines are very much blurred. So there's a lot of titillation in this animation. It does not treat women well. There is a level of misogyny, and they tried to justify it with the character Gina, but it doesn't work. And so in terms of today's social mores, how we look at things, how we look at women, how we look at transgenders, how we look at people who are gay, things like that, doesn't age well. AD Police Files does not age well. And so if those kinds of things, if you're sensitive to those kinds of things, AD Police Files is probably something you probably shouldn't watch, because it is very offensive in that way. And there's no need for it. That's the other part of it, is that, yes, we have sexualized anime. Yes, we have these things. Yes, there's violence sometimes attached to sex. That's a very common theme in all of fiction, all of movies, and all of animation. But this just seems to go over the top, and there's things that just happen that you just go, we didn't need that, right? We didn't need to see that. We didn't need to have to, like the researcher literally humping and coming to an orgasm in the third episode. We don't need to see in the first episode how sexualized the android is, and like she's coming on to Leon, who's trying to stop her because she's killing people after having sex because she can't be fulfilled, right? And so she gets shot up and she gets off on it, right? It's really kind of weird. And then there is, of course, rape, and we have the murder of a 14-year-old prostitute, so we get that in there. We have just the woman who gets rid of her organs so she doesn't have a period, so she's not weakened. That whole plot of that story is basically her future husband cheated her out of a promotion by noting her menstrual cycle and doing office politics while she's menstruating, and able to demonstrate her weakness because she's a woman. And so she got back by having her womanhood taken away from her, but she can still have sex because that's a thing. And so she gets back at him by becoming her own CEO, and she actually marries the guy because she goes, oh, I found out I was actually in love with him. Right, so that doesn't really fit today's ideas, right? If you're a woman who's into anime, you're watching me talk about this, you're like, no, and you would be justified in saying so. So she, and of course, there's this unneeded scene of her having a phantom cramp, and the only way that she can get rid of it, I kid you not, masturbating. And they show her. They, not detailed, but they show her. Do we need that? No, of course we don't. So that is a big problem for me for AD Police Files. If you want to go hentai, go hentai. If you want to go eki, go eki. But don't give us this kind of blurred lines crap. And even for the anime of its time, this is kind of a little bit above and beyond. So here's the question. Should you watch this anime? This is where it gets a little weird for me, because this is a historical anime. This is based on a series of stories that a beloved franchise, the Bubblegum Crisis franchise, is well loved by people who watch it. And there are critics out there that will look at AD Police Files in a certain fashion of going, well, the animation was really good, and there's concepts that are being put out there. But the problem is that it's just over-sexualized violence. And so should you watch it? From a historical point of view, if you want to, you can. I think it's enough to watch criticisms like mine or written or by other people, and I think that will fill your history knowledge if you want to watch, if you want to put it that way. In terms of actually watching it, if I never have to see this again, fine. I don't think you need to watch it. If you want to watch it just to check that box, because it is actually kind of a big box to check. I guess there's not much redeeming about this anime. It is animated very, very well. Yeah, you just kind of have to wonder what happened to show why he did this and why he wrote it the way he wrote it. Because when you look at his future stuff, it's really, he writes very, very well. But this, he just, yeah. So, yeah. I don't think you need to watch it. Okay, so we're at the end of the video, and AD Police Files anime, don't need to watch it, I don't think. I will say that I'm kind of curious about the manga. I've never read the manga, and I'm just curious to see if the same thing that's happened in the anime was happening in the manga. I'm sure there's sexualized stuff going on in the manga at the time it was written, but hopefully not as bad as what the anime was. So I don't know. If I read it, I'll let you guys know. So we're at the end here. We are coming into October. We're mid-October almost. And that means Halloween is coming up. So I think I'm gonna do some more Halloween horror kind of related stuff here on out. And so what that means is that you guys have to take care of yourselves. You have to do the thing that you need to do to make sure you don't get COVID, get hurt, or any of that stuff, because I want you to watch the video, and maybe in the future next year, I'm hoping to get to more conventions, and maybe I'll see you. If you happen to see me, please come up and say hi. And so be good, be healthy, love you guys, and see you next time.